Hey, good morning. Let's see. All right. Let's go here. There we go. All right, I just checking on my YouTube page. I call YouTube page. If you ever can't get us on Facebook, jump over on that. They're less finicky about touching it. Of course, I've heard that maybe Facebook's going to chill out a little bit on the so-called fact checking and some of the stuff that was pretty directed at Christians and sometimes or whatever. So maybe they'll shut us down less. Morning, Amber. Morning, Andrea. Good morning, Mara. Beverly, Crystal, good morning. Morning, Valerie. I see Sean Summers, Sherry Underwood, good morning. Morning, Mom. We have going to be a nice few days here, and then we're going to have a rough, nasty cold spell, and then go back to being nice, I hope. Maybe it's getting all this out of its system. Sometimes, it used to be January was rougher months. Kind of has gotten to where February is the worst for having some nasty cold spells, and I know calving cows in February I don't like doing it, but it kind of works out that way sometimes. Morning, Robin. Get a few more on here. I'm taking a little bit of time, I think, to let people get on, but as we always do, if you're re-watching this, you can speed it up a little bit. That is one thing about YouTube. You can put things on. You can speed things up. Morning, Jason. Not live, I don't think so, but like re-watching things. So having access to that. YouTube's pretty cool. Morning, Lawn Ford. We can get. You can figure out how to change fuel filter on your tractor and get a word from God and figure out how to call coyotes or whatever you want to do. There's all kinds of stuff on there. I'm sure you can find about anything. Some of it not good, I'm sure, but. Morning, Carson. Good morning, Brandon Miller. Regina, good morning. Spring's coming. That's right. We're another day closer. That is very true. I think we're going to go back over here to Psalms 37 and teach on down through here a little bit. My nose is trying to run. Don't need that. Well, I'm gonna be up the church today getting some rock in our back parking lot, or the area we're gonna expand our parking lot. We've had really good crowds and needing extra places to park. We've we've been parking on the grass back there, but we better put something on there that'll hold us up once it starts raining. It's been dry, so it hasn't been a problem. Morning, Kelly. Morning, Boyd Pete. Jana, good morning. Rhonda, good morning. All right, let's roll into Psalms 37 once again. Let's jump in here. And one of the things that God created us to have and to enjoy and to be a benefit to our life is emotions. We love emotions of joy and happiness and those sort of things. Uh, there's also negatives in emotions like anger, like jealousy. That'd be an emotion. Anyway, there's things that are good. There's things that are bad, and but you know. Being sad is obviously not an emotion that we like to be in, and but that there are things that we're going to experience that are going to bring sadness into our life. We just can't allow those to continue on too long. And God has given us the fruit of the Spirit, which overrides, offsets, however you want to look at it, replaces those things. There's a joy from the Lord that comes not based on our outward experiences, but it comes from what's on the inside of us. That joy from the Lord, that is, it's not just happiness, which depends on happenings, but it's the life of God in us, and a peace that gives us an ability to maintain a consistency in troubled times, or when somebody's coming against us. There's a peace on the inside that can keep us from losing our control of our emotions, and slipping over into a rage or anger, or causing us to be in fear when we wouldn't have to be. And so here in verse, we've been working through Psalms 37, and I love those first three verses, or five verses actually. The first five verses is where I usually focus, but yesterday I brought us there and talking about being in the presence of God and waiting patiently there. And one of the things that he follows up the next verse with, so I'm going to read verse 7 again, and then it says, "Be still in the presence of the Lord and wait patiently for him to act. Don't worry about evil people who prosper, or fret about their wicked schemes." So don't get into worry, fretting about what they're going to do. Don't worry about it, whether or not they prosper. Don't let what other people do influence and affect you. Now, that's easier said than done, but that's one of the reasons he says to wait patiently in the presence of the Lord. When we get into the presence of God, our perspective will change. It's one of the reasons that we learn to cultivate that experience, or that relationship with God. We want to spend time. We need to learn to get time with God, so that we're in his presence, and while we're in his presence, everything will begin to change. You can bring your needs, your concerns, your worries, your fears before God in his presence, and he can guide and direct us. He can give us the ability to know and understand what we need to do. That's the amazing thing about God is he has the 10,000 foot view. He can see everything from start to finish, and so he also knows the next step and the steps after. And so we can build a faith to know and trust God, so that we can be patient in God's presence and rest, that rest that comes there. That's what the King James says. Instead of be still in the presence of God, it says rest in the presence of God. Well, it's hard to rest when your mind's running, when you're worried, when you're anxious, when you're stressed, when you're concerned, whatever these things are that we can bring into the presence of God, and he brings a balance there. But then he goes into verse 8, and he says, "Stop being angry. Turn from your rage." Now, don't lose your temper. It only leads to harm. Okay, so he just in the middle of talking about these other good things, he says, stop being angry. Turn from your rage. I remember a time where I would get angry and fly off the handle, throw a wrench, or punch something, and do stupid stuff. It was things that caused harm, sometimes to me, broke a bone in my hand, and that sort of thing. Throw the wrench across the, or break a sorting stick, or you just throw a gate, or just do stupid stuff. Working cattle, that'll bring the anger out sometimes. It'll cause you in a fight with someone else, cause you to do things you wouldn't normally do, because you lose control of your temper. Whenever we get into a place, if a person gets into a place like that, and people demonstrate their anger different ways. Some people hold it inside. Well, that's not good either. You say, well, I control my temper. I don't. Well, but if it's raging on the inside of you, that's not good either. And so that will affect your health and cause you to, sometimes it's all happening in your mind, and that's not good either. So, but you may, here's the wonderful thing about God. When and I like the fact that he has that right after being in the presence of God. He says, be in the presence of God. Be still in the presence of God. Wait patiently for him to act. Don't worry about what evil people do. In other words, don't let people dictate how you're going to respond or act. And for the wicked will be stop being angry. Verse 8. Stop being angry and turn loose of your rage. Now, or turn from your rage. So he gives us something to do. You say, well, I can't. Well, God just told you to, and us too, right? So I had to learn how to do that. And one of the reasons that I use that illustration of me is that I turn from my anger. That's my choice. In other words, turning away from something. So let's say you and someone else are in a conversation, in an argument. Maybe they're trying to lead you astray, right? They could be, and you turning from them, away from them, is you being able to sever that influence. So picture that in your mind. You're turning away from that rage, and that anger. Choosing stop being angry. Now, there's things that God, I believe is okay. There are things that are okay to be angry about. We ought to be angry about sin. We ought to be angry about, a child being abused. We ought to be angry about some things like that. There are things that we can, but directing that so that it's not direct, controlling that or using that as a direction, that's a little bit different subject, a little bit different thing. A lot different, in fact, because it's something that would motivate you to act or to do something. Our anger towards evil causes us to rise up and say, no, that's enough. I'm standing my ground. And us to learn how to no longer be manipulated, controlled, or affected by the enemy if it was a force of evil. If Satan's at work, you need to get angry enough to stand up and say no more. I did a teaching on that. I talked about that before. But anger that causes us, it's that emotion that we lose control, and we say things we wish we wouldn't have said, do things we wish we wouldn't have done. We allow it builds, right? It just ends up in a bad place. I like how he starts this off as don't worry about wicked people. Verse 1. He builds on that. He says, don't envy someone. In other words, don't be looking. Don't spend your time wishing you had what others had, worrying about how they got it. There's just so many things that just pile on. You start to have self-pity. You start to, why don't I have that? Or they don't deserve that. And, there's just that whole pity party thing. We don't want to do that. Don't waste your time there. He shifts then to verse 3, trust in the Lord and do good. He's guiding us in how to walk. I love this chapter out of Psalms 37, verse 3. In verse 4, delight yourself in the Lord. So put your focus there. And that means delight in him, means receive his instruction, receive his word, decide this is how I'm going to live. I'm going to put my delight in him, and he'll give you the desires of your heart. He's going to give you what you desire. That means his desires become your desires, but then he's going to give you the things that you desire. But it's that alignment of our heart with God's. Then what's wonderful is that things that I shouldn't be desiring begin to fall away because I'm yielded. I put my trust in him. I've chosen his path, his way. So things that I shouldn't be desiring begin to fall away. It's like not having to concentrate on not doing something, just trusting him and walking with him. They begin to align, and over time, those things begin to be one. Our heart in God's heart. Then verse 5, commit everything you do to the Lord, trust in him, and he'll help you. So committing all that I do to him. In other words, God, I am on this career path, but I'm following your will. And Lord, if this isn't the career path I should go in, Lord, give me the desire to do something different. Remove the desire for that. And so and you begin to realize all of a sudden you're doing the thing that God called you to do. And it can be a secular job, but with God's blessing on it, right? And then you prosper in everything that you do. You get the promotion, you get the success, you make the extra sales, you make the extra, it's an ease. You just cruise through that. And when challenges come, there's always a way through that's amazing. And then verse 7 again, be still in the presence of God and wait patiently for him to act. Now, he's following up in that verse 8, stop being angry, turn from your rage. Those two fit together more than you might think, because if I can be still in the presence of God, if I can do all of the first 7 verses, verse 8 begins to be easy. You could have just cherry picked that verse 8 out and said, stop being angry, turn from your rage, don't lose your temper, it only leaves you harm. And you say, well, how do I do that? Then we go back through all of those verses, and they're teaching us to not be led by emotions that are negative, but they're teaching us how to walk one with God, trusting God from a position of faith, from a position of being led by the Spirit instead of our flesh, our emotions. And we've aligned ourselves. Trust in the Lord, take delight in him, commit everything to him, trust him, be still in his presence. If I can learn to be still in his presence, if I can learn and if you can learn to do that, this is what I've worked on, and I every once in a while I realize that I've been running hard and fast and at a pace, and I'm talking to God on the run, I'm spending stopping and being quiet with the Lord, being patient, maybe 5 minutes, but allowing to settle into his presence, not worrying about all this other stuff. How do you not worry? You give it to God. Then it gets easier to not be angry. Then you what other people do doesn't affect you the same. You stop being angry. Now, does that mean you have to take what people are giving you? Not necessarily. I mean, if I send you mail you in a package, we get Amazon packages or packages from wherever we've ordered all the time. We order stuff all the time. It's like Christmas every morning. You wake up and there's another gift. But if a box of rattlesnakes comes, no, we'd reject that, right? So we choose. He's saying choose, turn that away. Nope. Didn't order that. Or I may order that, but I ain't opening that one. I'm sending that one back. All right, making that choice comes from, and being able to succeed in that comes from all those things. Now I got to wrap this up, but You can add Galatians 5:22, the fruits of the Spirit. When we make Jesus Lord, have the Holy Spirit living and dwelling on the inside of us, we can begin to walk in the blessing of the fruits of the Spirit. We can begin to see letting love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. We can let those things rule us. They rule us instead of negative emotions, fear, anxiety, an inability to think right. All those things, we begin to walk in and having a sound mind. 2 Timothy 1:7. We begin to walk in that. And boy, I tell you what a blessing. So y'all be blessed today. And I tell you, putting your faith and your trust in God, God will show you how to act, what to do, and what a blessing it'll be. So y'all be blessed today. Go out and do something good for somebody. Think about this as you go through your Tuesday, and go get them for Jesus. Love y'all. See who else come on here. Morning, Christy. Or Christina, sorry. Morning, she's with 10 Texas Radio. Love that. Amen. Morning, Bobby Seedorf. Morning, Misty. Morning, Brad Mays. Blessings on you, brother. Bill Mayhew, good morning. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Joel Parks, good to see you. Scott Keller, good morning. Morning, Wendy. Oh, I think I got everybody. Blessings on you. So y'all have a good day. Good group on here today.